Alrighty. Let me just get some things set up here. That's not very visible, so you know what? I'm going to darken that real quick. I've got this up here, and it's kind of like an experiment. I want to see... Where'd my marker go? Alright, hold on. I gotta find myself my marker. I think it might have fallen... Yep, there it is. It's on the floor. Alright. There we go. Let's see if I can darken this. This marker seems to be running out. Yeah. You know what? Be right back again. Excuse me. All right. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Much better. There we go. Hello. Yeah, sorry about that. I kind of got a little distracted there right at the beginning of this thing. I wrote this thing in pen, but it wasn't dark enough to see on the live stream. Is that good? You can see that now. Oh. Hang on a second. Let me stick this under here. Well. How about this instead? That'll work. There we go. There we go. Alright, so now y'all can see that. Yeah, that's kind of an experiment. I want to see what happens to the rate of subscribers when I tell everyone how many subscribers I have. Oh, and you said that you subscribed. Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm gonna go put this back where I got it from, and then I will get into reading like I was going to do at the beginning of the stream. Alrighty. Just gotta lock this door again. I lock my door so that nobody disturbs me while I'm streaming. And it's quite a process to lock my door because it's not a conventional door. It's like a double door. You know those doors that it's like a closet where you pull on it and it like slides out and folds in half? It's one of those doors, but it doesn't slide because it got attached on both sides by hinges. And so there's these two little doorknobs in the middle, and I have to tie them together whenever I want to lock the thing. Alrighty, well, hello everybody, thanks for joining me for this live stream, and I'm gonna continue my reading in 5 Weeks in a Balloon by Jules Verne. We're gonna be reading chapter 8. It's got 4 pages, so it's not very long, but yeah, whatever. Let's see. So chapter 8, I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to read this. I don't even know what to call this section. What do you call this? It's got the chapter here, and the chapter starts here, but then in between, it's got this little section here that kind of gives you an overview of what the chapter is. I don't know what to call that thing. But anyway, this thing here says, Joe's importance, the commander of the Resolute, Kennedy's arsenal, mutual amenities, the farewell dinner, departure on the 21st of February, the doctor's scientific sessions, Duvier, Livingston, details of the aerial voyage, and Kennedy silenced. If you'll remember, maybe you were here yesterday, maybe you weren't, but yesterday we read chapter 7. Chapter 7 kind of went over the balloon that Dr. Ferguson made, how much everything weighed and all that. The chapter before that introduced Joe, who is a friend of Dr. Ferguson's. I believe chapter 6 introduced Kennedy, also known as Dick, and he's also a friend of Dr. Ferguson's, and I believe both of them are going on the journey in the balloon. So, chapter 8, and I'm going to go ahead and start reading. So, about the 10th of February, the preparations were pretty well completed, and the balloons, firmly secured, one within the other, were altogether finished. They had been subjected to a powerful pneumatic pressure in all parts, and the test gave excellent evidence of their solidity and of the care applied in their construction. Joe hardly knew what he was about. With delight, he trotted incessantly to and fro between his home in Greek Street and the Mitchell establishment, always full of business, but always in the highest spirits, giving details of the affair to people who did not even ask him. So proud was he above all things of being permitted to accompany his master. I have even a shrewd suspicion that what with showing the balloon, explaining the plans and views of the doctor, giving folks a glimpse of the latter through a half-open window, or pointing him out as he passed along the streets, the clever scamp earned a few half-crowns, but he must not find But we must not find fault with him for that. He had as much right as anybody else to speculate upon the admiration and curiosity of his contemporaries. On the 16th of February, the Resolute cast anchor near Greenwich. She was a screw propeller of 800 tons, a fast sailer, and the very vessel that had been sent out to the polar regions to revictual the last expedition of Sir James Ross. Her commander, Captain Bennet, had the name of being a very amiable person, and he took a particular interest in the doctor's expedition, having been one of that gentleman's admirers for a long time. Bennet was rather a man of science than a man of war, which did not, however, prevent his vessel from carrying 4 carronades that had never hurt anybody, to be sure, but had performed the most pacific duty in the world. The hold of the Resolute was so arranged as to find a stowing place for the balloon. The latter was shipped with the greatest precaution on the 18th of February, and was then carefully deposited at the bottom of the vessel in such a way as to prevent accident. The car and its accessories, the anchors, the cords, the supplies, the water tanks, which were to be filled on arriving, all were embarked and put away under Ferguson's own eyes. 10 tons of sulfuric acid and 10 tons of iron filings were put on board for the future production of the hydrogen gas. That is a lot of iron filings. Good grief. The quantity was more than enough, but it was well to be provided against accident. The apparatus to be employed in manufacturing the gas, including some 30 empty casks, was also stowed away in the hold. These various preparations were terminated on the 18th of February in the evening. The staterooms, comfortably fitted up, were ready for the reception of Dr. Ferguson and his friend Kennedy. The latter, all the while swearing that he would not go, went on board with a regular arsenal of hunting weapons, among which were 2 double-barreled, breech-loading fowling pieces, and a rifle that had withstood every test of the make of Purdy, Moore, and Dickinson at Edinburgh. With such a weapon, a marksman would find no difficulty in lodging a bullet in the eye of a I don't know how to pronounce that word. Chemois? I've never seen that word before. At the distance of 2,000 paces. If I were to guess, it's some kind of African animal, but what it is, I don't know. Where was I? At the distance of 2,000 paces. Along with these implements, he had 2 of Colt's 6-shooters for unforeseen emergencies. His powder case, his cartridge pouch, his lead, and his bullets did not exceed a certain weight prescribed by the doctor. The 3 travelers got themselves to rights on board during the working hours of February 19th. They were received with much distinction by the captain and his officers, the doctor continuing at reserve. I'm having trouble reading today for some reason. I keep mispronouncing words. The doctor continuing as reserved as ever, and thinking of nothing but his expedition. Dick seemed a good deal moved, but was unwilling to betray it, while Joe was fairly dancing and breaking out in laughable remarks. The worthy fellow soon became the jester and merry andrew of the boatswain's mess, where a berth had been kept for him. On the 20th, a grand farewell dinner was given to Dr. Ferguson and Kennedy by the Royal Geographical Society. Commander Bennet and his officers were present at the entertainment, which was signaled by copious libations and numerous toasts. Healths were drunk in sufficient abundance to guarantee all the guests a lifetime of centuries. Sir Francis M. presided with restrained but dignified feeling. To his own supreme confusion, Dick Kennedy, came in for a large share in the jovial felicitations of the night. After having drunk to the intrepid Ferguson, the glory of England, they had to drink to the no less courageous Kennedy, his daring companion. Dick blushed a good deal, and that passed for modesty, whereupon the applause redoubled, and Dick blushed again. A message from the Queen arrived while they were at a dessert. Her Majesty offered her compliments to the two travelers and expressed her wishes for their safe and successful journey. This, of course, rendered imperative fresh toasts to Her Most Gracious Majesty. The Queen of England at this time would have been Queen Victoria. At midnight, after touching farewells and warm shaking of hands, the guests separated. The boats of the Resolute were in waiting at the stairs of Westminster Bridge. The captain leapt in, accompanied by his officers and passengers, and the rapid current of the Thames, aiding the strong arms of the rowers, bore them swiftly to Greenwich. In an hour's time, all were asleep on board. Gonna take a break to get some water. The next morning, February 21st, at 3 o'clock, the furnaces began to roar. At 5, the anchors were weighed, and the Resolute, powerfully driven by her screw, began to plow the water toward the mouth of the Thames. It is needless to say that the topic of conversation with everyone on board was Dr. Ferguson's enterprise. Seeing and hearing the doctor soon inspired everybody with such confidence that in a very short time, there was no one, excepting the incredulous Scotchman on the steamer, who had the least doubt of the perfect feasibility and success of the expedition. During the long, unoccupied hours of the voyage, the doctor had regular sittings with lectures on geographical science in the officers' mess room. These young men felt an intense interest in the discoveries made during the last 40 years in Africa, and the doctor related to them the explorations of Barth, Burton, Speke, and Grant, and depicted the wonders of this vast, mysterious country, now thrown open on all sides to the investigations of science. On the north, the young Duvier was exploring Sahara and bringing the chiefs of the Tuaregs to Paris. Under the inspiration of the French government, 2 expeditions were preparing, which, descending from the north and coming from the west, would cross each other at Timbuktu. In the south, the Indefatigable. Never seen that word before either. Livingston was still advancing toward the equator, and since March 1862, he had, in company with Mackenzie, ascended the river Rovuma. The 19th century would assuredly not pass, contented the doctor, without Africa having been compelled to surrender the secrets she kept locked up in her bosom for 6,000 years. I'm confused. So right here, he just said that the secrets of Africa were locked up for the past 1,000 years, which is about the age that creationists believe that the Earth is, around 6,000 years. But in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Jules Verne talks about the beginning of time as if from an evolutionary point of view, as if the world isn't just 6,000 years old, but it's older. And so I'm confused because those are 2 opposite opinions. I suppose he either could have changed his mind, or he wrote differently in the two different books just because it's a different character. I don't know. That's interesting. But anyway, the interest of Dr. Ferguson's hearers was excited to the highest pitch when he made known to them in detail the preparations for his own journey. They took pleasure in verifying his calculations. They discussed them, and the doctor frankly took part in the discussion. As a general thing, they were surprised at the limited quantity of provisions that he took with him, and uh, one day, one of the officers questioned him on that subject. That particular point astonishes you, does it? I did not read that right. I'm sorry. That particular point astonishes you, does it? Said Ferguson. It does indeed. But how long do you think my trip is going to last? Whole months? If so, you are greatly mistaken. Were it to be a long one, we should be lost. We should never get back. But you must know that the distance from Zanzibar to the coast of Senegal is only 3,500, say 4,000 miles. Well, at the rate of 240 miles every 12 hours, which does not come near the rapidity of our railroad trains, by traveling day and night, it would take only 7 days to cross Africa. But then you could see nothing, make no geographical observations, or reconnoiter the face of the country. Ah, replied the doctor, if I am master of my balloon, if I can ascend and descend at will, I shall stop when I please, especially when two violent currents of air threaten to carry me out of my way with them. And you will encounter such, said Captain Bennet. There are tornadoes that sweep at the rate of more than 240 miles per hour. You see, then, that with such speed as that, we could cross Africa in 12 hours. One would rise at Zanzibar and go to bed at St. Louis. But, rejoined the officer, could any balloons withstand the wear and tear of such velocity? It has happened before, replied Ferguson. And the balloon withstood it? Perfectly well. It was at the time of the coronation of Napoleon in 1804. The aeronaut Jernerin sent up a balloon at Paris about 11 o'clock in the evening. It bore the following inscription in letters of gold. Paris, 25 Frimaire, year 13, coronation of the Emperor Napoleon by His Holiness Pius VII. On the next morning, the inhabitants of Rome saw the same balloon soaring above the Vatican, whence it crossed the Campagna, and finally fluttered down into the lake of Bracciano. So you see, gentlemen, that a balloon can resist such velocities. A balloon, that may be. But a man? Insinuated Kennedy. Yes, a man too, for the balloon is always motionless with reference to the air that surrounds it. What moves is the mass of the atmosphere itself. For instance, one may light a taper in the car, and the flame will not even waver. An aeronaut in Garnerin's balloon would not have suffered in the least from the speed. But then I have no occasion to attempt such velocity, and if I can anchor to some tree or some favorable inequality to the ground at night, I should not fail to do so. Besides, we take provision for 2 months with us, after all, and there is nothing to prevent our skillful huntsmen here from furnishing game in abundance when we come to alight. Ah, Mr. Kennedy, said a young midshipman with envious eyes, what splendid shots you'll have. Without counting, said another, that you'll have the glory as well as the sport. Gentlemen, replied the hunter, stammering with confusion, I greatly appreciate your compliments, but they don't belong to me. You, exclaimed everybody, don't you intend to go? I am not going. You won't accompany Dr. Ferguson? Not only shall I not accompany him, but I am here so as to be present at the last moment to prevent his going. Every eye was now turned to the doctor. Never mind him, said the latter, calmly. This is a matter that we can't argue with him. At heart he knows perfectly well that he is going. By St. Andrew, said Kennedy, I swear to nothing, friend Dick. You have been ganged and weighed. You and your powder, your guns and your bullets, so don't let us say anything more about it. And, in fact, from that day until the arrival at Zanzibar, Dick never opened his mouth. He talked neither about that nor about anything else. He kept absolutely silent. And that is the end of chapter 8. Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of like stuttering and stammering as I read, and that's just really because I had a really busy day at work, and it was also really cold. And I think that's kind of affecting the way I read. So sorry about that. But it's still a good book. And it looks like a few people stuck with me to the end. I appreciate that. I think it was either yesterday or the day before. By the time I got to the end, there was nobody watching. So, anyway, I'm going to close off this video, so thanks for sticking around to the end. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. That makes it more visible to other people, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. And if you know anybody that you would like to share this live stream with, you can share it with them. I'm sure there are many people who would enjoy hearing this book read. I'm enjoying reading it. I've never read it before, so I'm not entirely sure what to expect. But it seems like a good book, and I'm excited to see what happens in chapter 9, which I should be reading tomorrow as long as I'm not busy. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, y'all have a good night. God bless.